The advice to college applicants used to be a well-rounded whole person. The ideal would be a circle without any rough edges. Somewhere between the time that parents applied to college and now, the advice changed. It used to be well-rounded. Now it's specialized. We've tried to come up with a term for whatever the opposite of well-rounded is. Some people say pointy. I've heard others say spiked. The one that seems to be most popular these days is angular. Your goal is to be like her. I don't think I've ever had a shot at being that cool. So this specialization is the key, and tonight we'll hear all about this from a longtime expert and writer in college admissions. Let's go.
It's the College Talk Show. Today's theme, well-rounded versus angular, with special guest Lee Bierer. And now, here's your host, Chris Bell.
Tonight's guest is Lee Bierer, the founder of Bierer College Consulting and a nationally recognized expert in the field. I am thrilled to have her here. Please welcome Lee Bierer. Lee, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me. Excited to chat with you.
My pleasure. Listen, we're talking today about this concept of well-rounded versus angular. How do you explain the difference between the two?
It was sort of a light bulb moment for me when I recognized that this was one of the bigger changes in college admissions from way back when I applied. And way back then, the buzzword was to be well-rounded. So you wanted to be the candy striper, and you wanted to be in student government, and you wanted to play a sport, and you wanted to dabble. And what I had learned from going on many campus visits was that the angular student, the more focused student, was really what the colleges were looking for.
Is there any risk in focusing too narrowly?
If there's an academic bent to it, I don't think there's any harm in going all the way. You know, it's as you well know, passion is another one of the buzzwords, right? The college admissions want to see passion, and sort of the best way that students can demonstrate that is often with getting more deeply involved and not spreading themselves so thin so that they're not really making a contribution.
How do colleges actually view this well-rounded side of things? Is it a plus, or is well-rounded as this negative or vague label?
I think what they're looking for is impact. Where has a student made a contribution to their school and or their community? The Common App specifically asked how many hours per week and how many weeks per year.
You know, for students who have a real passion, it makes sense to pursue it and go for depth and really kind of achieve this angular definition, if you will. But there are many students who might not know what they're interested in, or they might still be exploring. How can students use their high school years to figure out what genuinely interests them, especially when they're still trying to figure themselves out?
Sure. I actually think it's a great question because few are the students who know themselves well enough and know their passions in 8th grade so that when they get to 9th grade, they know exactly what they want to participate in.
Yes.
And so I usually recommend that as 9th graders, they do dabble. That they are more of a jack of all trades, and they try the debate team, they do Model UN, they do whatever it might be that sparks an interest. And then by sophomore year, I think they should winnow that list down to something more manageable. By junior year, you would hope they might have some sort of leadership role within one or possibly two organizations, but certainly one is plenty if that's where they're dedicating a lot of their time and energy. And then senior year, I often think it's fine to back off. If you were president as a junior, let somebody else do it and be the senior statesperson and focus on your applications.
This conversation has been terrific. I'm sure that people are going to want to see more of your thoughts. Where can people find more of your writing or get in touch with you, Lee?
Sure. So I post my columns every week on my website, which is just Bierer, Bierer, collegeconsulting.com. I also appear weekly in High School Counselor Weekly.
You always give to your community, and your community is national at least, and so thank you for your great contributions, and thanks for the conversation today. I think we've learned a lot today. I appreciate it. Stick around, we'll be right back.
This episode is brought to you by Bierer College Consulting. Visit bierecollegeconsulting.com to learn more.
Lee had great advice and made a good case that as you progress through your high school years, you should focus on one or two things rather than dabbling in a bunch while staying at the surface level with them. I find this to be a delicate topic because I want high schoolers to be their authentic selves. I don't want you to go do something just because you think it will look good to colleges. I want you to pursue whatever interests you, even if that's a lot of things. And I believe that if you do that in a way that's true to yourself, you'll be set for college and beyond. At the same time, if there is something you're into, I don't want you to limit yourself because of your age. Never say or even think the words, I won't do blank because I'm just a high schooler. I see people put up barriers for themselves all the time. If you have a thing or two that you're really into, ask yourself, what would going big in this area look like? What would it mean to make an impact, as Lee mentioned? So the advice really boils down to find the things that you're into and go big with those things where possible. The one part that I hope that helps relieve some stress is this. You don't need to go big in 10 different areas. Do it in one or two. That's it. And now it's time for a sort of summary of the main points from tonight's show. I call it Top Tips.
Top tips. Top tips. Kind of a summary, but we call it Top Tips. Top tips.
Here we go. Top tips related to well-rounded versus angular. Number 6. It used to be about being well-rounded. These days, it's about being angular or more focused. Number 5, don't spread yourself too thin with activities. Number 4, making an impact is a good goal. Number 3, for each activity that you list, the Common App asks, how many hours per week? How many weeks per year? Number 2, it's rare for high schoolers to know their passions, especially when they're just starting out. A good goal is 9th grade, dabble and explore. 10th grade, win on the list and begin to focus. 11th grade, try to go for a leadership role if possible. 12th grade, this is time to back off, but stay involved. And your number 1 tip related to well-rounded versus angular is, when you have something that you are into, ask yourself, what would going big in this area look like? And that's your list. Thank you to Lee Bierer for her excellent advice and counsel. And remember, college is awesome.